Happy Easter, everyone. And can we possibly think of a day that looks more like what Americans think Easter looks like than this one? After so much snow this winter, right outside the door, we see wonderful weather, bright sunshine, green grass, and flowers everywhere. Everything people associate with Easter. Everything except, here's the bunny. Well, okay, so this bunny is a stuffed animal, since a real bunny would be a little too squirmy for me to be using in my homily right now. For so many, the sight of a bunch of new baby bunnies squirming around, or of fuzzy yellow chicks, speaks of new life and hope. And isn't that what Easter is all about? New life in the spring, cuddly baby animals, like that song from The Lion King. The circle of life. Well, actually, it's not. The Christian proclamation of Easter is actually exactly the opposite of the circle of life. Now, why would I say that? Well, because in that natural life cycle, bunnies and other creatures are born and grow. And that's beautiful. But they also decline. They also decline and die. They face dangers and disease and predators. If that weren't enough, they also face moral evil from human beings, like animal experimentation. And so that natural circle of life can be called just as easily the inescapable cycle of death. Now, when we love something or someone, our love cries out against this cycle of death. If we truly love a bunny, we want it to live and to thrive. And it's not enough to know that other bunnies will be born to take its place. We love this bunny. Or perhaps more of us would have had the experience of having as a lifelong pet this cat or this dog. And certainly this human being, that mother or father, grandfather, grandparents, son or daughter, or any other human person, that we love that person. 40 years ago, a young German priest theologian wrote, "Love demands infinity, indestructibility. Indeed, it is, so to speak, a call for infinity. But it is also a fact that this cry of love cannot be satisfied, that it demands infinity, but cannot grant it, that it claims eternity, but in fact is included in the world of death, in its loneliness and its power of destruction." Now, that young priest writer was Father Joseph Ratzinger, who is now our Holy Father, Pope Benedict. And he observed that facing this cycle of death, people have often hoped that they could live on in others, either through their children or grandchildren living on after they die, or through being remembered by many people. But both of these are only a shadow compared to real life. And love wants more. But the problem in this cruel cycle of death is that when love meets death, love always loses. And that is what everyone seemed to see in the passion and death of our Lord Jesus. As we heard in the first reading, he had gone about his life doing good and healing all those oppressed by the devil. He had proclaimed the good news to everyone, and he had reached out to all sinners, and nothing anyone did could make him compromise his love. And then that first Holy Week, He was betrayed, denied, abandoned, arrested and falsely accused, scourged and mocked, forced to carry his own cross, then nailed to it and hung up until he died, and shut in a cold stone tomb. In the natural cycle of death, whenever love meets death, love loses. And so, seeing that again and again, we hold ourselves back from the fullness of love. We want to protect ourselves and preserve our own life. And so when we are pushed to this precipice, we end our love. When push comes to shove, we will strike back. We will betray. We will lie or steal or manipulate to preserve our own life. Because what else can we do? Who can conquer them? The old pagan religions simply gave in to this cycle of death and tried to placate those natural forces. And the return of neo-pagan nature worship does the same thing all over again. The Eastern philosophies tried to escape from that natural cycle into the nothingness beyond it, and to somehow just forget that their love had ever desired something different. And of course, how many today simply choose to distract ourselves with those electronic forms of entertainment? What else can we do in the face of the tomb? No. Unfortunately, the bunny will not do as a symbol for Easter. And the church fathers, in the early centuries of the church, did not use a bunny as one of their symbols. But they did use the egg. And why was that? Well, because the egg resembles the tomb. If we didn't know otherwise, simply looking at it, we would think it looked like a stone, hard and lifeless and cold, impenetrable. Nothing could ever come from inside it. But from an egg, something does emerge. Something alive and surprising, like this yellow chick breaking through the shell and poking his little head out. And so the egg is a fitting symbol of the resurrection, because on the third day, our Lord Jesus rose from the dead and walked out of that cold stone tomb. As we heard in the gospel reading, the women went to the tomb at daybreak on that first Easter Sunday morning, expecting, like always, to find his dead body there, taking the spices they had prepared. But what they found was the tomb cracked open, the stone rolled away, and no dead body anywhere. Instead, two angels in dazzling garments who asked them, "Why do you seek the living one among the dead? He is not here, but he has been raised. Christ is risen." And our Holy Father observed in that book that, as so many times before, love had met death, but this time, love won. A few minutes ago, we heard the cantor sing in Latin, "Death and life have contended in a wondrous duel. The Prince of Life, who died, reigns alive. Christ, my hope, has risen.